Next, I'm going to write the unit test for the get all customers method. So let's write the next test case. And I will give the comment as JUnit test for get all customers method. And let's test the positive scenario first. Positive scenario means when there are list of customers in the database, and we have to write another unit test to test the negative scenario. The negative scenario is there are no customers in the database. So first let's write the unit test for the positive scenario. Here also we have to first give a customer list, and in the precondition we have to first give another customer. We already have a customer in our setup method. I'm going to create another customer in the precondition, and after that I'm going to write one stubbing call that will return a list of customers when we call the find all method of the customer repository. So let's give the given part as given customers list, and in the when part we can give we are going to call the get all customers method. So we can write here when get all customers, and it should return a list of customer DTO. So here I can write then return customer DTO list. In the precondition, I'm going to create one more customer object. Customer first name, I will give Mark as the customer first name. Then customer last name, I will give as Smith. And let me give the customer email also. Next, I will give the customer password. And we have created another customer object and inside the precondition. So we already have a customer object in our setup method. So in the precondition, I'm going to write one more method given, and here also I'm going to give customer repository, and when we call the get all customers, inside that get all customers method, it is going to call the find all method of the customer repository. So I'm going to write here customer repository dot find all. When we call this find all method of customer repository, it is going to return. So we'll return a list of. I'm going to add the two customer objects we have created, customer and customer 1, and so in the given section we have stubbed this call. So when the customer repository.find all method is called, it is going to return a list of customer objects. So in that list, we have the customer object and the customer one object, which we just created. In the when section, we are going to perform the action, the behavior we want to test. The behavior we want to test is customer service dot get all customers. So ideally, when we call this get all customers method of customer service, it should return a list of customer DTO objects. I will assign into all customers variable, and to verify the output, whether we actually got a list of customer DTO object, we can use the assert that in the then section, and we can use the all customers. We can first check this all customers is not null, and also we can check the size of this customer DTO list. All customers dot size, it should be equal to 2, because we know we have 2 customers in our list, which is returned from the from this stubbed call. So here we can put the expected value as 2, and we can compare it with the actual value. So that's the next unit test which we wrote for the get all customers method, and it's for the positive scenario. Let's run this unit test and see what will be the result. We can see the test has passed. So next we are going to write the unit test for the get all customers method, but for the negative scenario. So the negative scenario means it should not return any customer list. Instead, it should return empty, because in real world it is possible sometimes when we call this get all customers method, and if there are no any customers in the database, it can return an empty list. So let's write the unit test for that scenario, and I will copy this negative scenario. Here we are not going to give any customer list, and here in the previous test case we gave a customer list, but in this case we are going to give an empty list, empty customer list. So given empty customer list, when still it is same method called get all customers, and it should return now empty customer DTO list. So then return empty customer DTO list. So in the precondition, in this test case, we don't have to create any custom object just like before. We can simply go to the given, and here we can give given. We are again going to call customer repository dot find all, but this time this find all method call of the customer repository should return a empty list. So to return an empty list, I can use collections dot empty list. We have stopped the method call for the find all method call here. And when it returns an empty list, the find all method call of the customer repository returns an empty list. Next, we are going to perform the action. Still the same action, that is customer service dot get all customers, and we will assign the result of this method call into a list of customer DTO objects, and I will give it like all customers. Here customer service dot get all customers is the method call we are going to perform. And in the verify the output section, we can again use the assert that statements. Assert that, and now this all customers, the list of the customer DTO objects, it should be empty. So we are going to check is empty, and we can also write another assert that statement, all customers dot size. Now the size should be equal to 0, because we know like it is going to return an empty list, but in the previous case it returned a list of customers, and that's why we pass expected as 2 in the previous case. Now in this case we are going to pass expected as 0. So let's run this test case also. Test case is passed. So the next method of the customer service IMPL class is get customer by ID. So let's write a unit test to test the get customer by ID method. JUnit test for get customer by ID method. Here the given section. So in this customer service IMPL, we are going to pass customer ID as the parameter. So here also we are going to give given customer ID, and in the when section we are going to call the get customer by ID. So let's give that in the when section. When get customer by ID, and it should return a customer DTO object. So in the given section, let me write the stubbing call given. So we are going to call the customer repository dot. Here we are calling the find by ID method. In the get customer by ID method, we are going to call the customer repository dot find by ID. So in the customer service tests also, in the given section, we are going to call the same method, find by ID, and we are going to pass an ID to this. So the ID we are going to pass here is the ID of this customer object. We already have a customer object, and we are going to pass that ID. So in this case, when we were creating these customer objects, we did not give an ID, because in these initial test cases, ID was not required, right? So without a ID, it still worked. But in this case, if we just use the customer.getID, it will not return anything, because when we creating the customer object, we did not give any ID in the setup method. So I'm going to add an ID also to these customer object and the customer DTO object. So let me first add an ID here, customer ID, and I will give the ID as 1L. And in the customer DTO object also, I will add an ID, customer ID. I will give the same ID, 1L. Now we can use that customer object and then get customer ID. And when we pass this customer ID into the find by ID, it should return customer. But you can see here, it is giving this squiggly line, because this method, this find by ID method, actually not returning a customer object. It is returning an optional of customer. So that's why if we pass this customer directly here, it is identifying it as an error. So instead of customer, we should give optional dot of customer. Then in this customer service IMPL class, when it returned a customer object, method is going to return a customer DTO object. So we are using the model mapper to convert that customer object into a customer DTO object. Because of that, we have to write that do return method call to denote that model mapper is going to return a customer DTO. So do return, it will return customer DTO when model mapper dot map, and when we pass a customer object into the model mapper, it is going to return a customer DTO object. This is the same thing we did in our uh, first test case. We wrote these two lines to denote what model mapper is going to do. So we have to write here also the same thing. In the first test case, we have to write the both cases. When we pass a customer, it is going to return a customer DTO. On the other hand, when we pass a customer DTO, it is going to return a customer. We have to write both scenarios in the first test case because that's the create customer method. But in this case, it is enough to write only this one because it is only going to uh, return customer DTO when we pass a customer object. In the when section, we can simply call the method of customer service, that is get customer by ID, and here we can pass the customer dot get customer ID. Then ideally it should return a customer DTO object, and I will give the name as returned customer, and then we can verify the output using assert that. Return customer object should not be null. Let's run the test case. And test is passed.